Saturday morning, your host here, and here we go. Another really awesome Saturday morning. Everybody's got their coffee and everything. So, really glad you tuned in this time around, and we have some really cool stuff to talk about. I think this is going to be a favorite episode of mine, hopefully yours as well, because we're talking about Magnum Force. That's right, Magnum Force this time. The best Dirty Harry movie, for sure, without a doubt, the best Dirty Harry movie, yes. This one, I believe, is, out of all 5 of the films that were made, I think a lot of people will agree Magnum Force is the best. Look at that, the old VHS copy, video home system. This is awesome, VCR days, man. Video cassette recorders and everything, the analog days. Some people maybe don't even know what this is. They see something like that, they don't even know what that is. Yeah, I'm from the analog generation. You know, that was it. You know, that was there was no such thing as a DVD. Man, I wish I kept my VHS collection. I really do. That really, you know, looking back at that, really bums me out. I wish I would have boxed all that stuff up and just kept it. But nobody didn't know, and I think it was somebody that actually wrote a comment one time. It says, you know, we spent a small fortune now trying to get back our I guess childhood days, or whatever you want to call it, or the younger days, but yeah, looking back at that, even for me, it's like I'm looking up to the guys that are, in their 60s, 70s, and so on. And a lot of my friends, unfortunately, honestly, have passed away. That's because I hung out with the older crowd. But, even for me, looking back, it's like, man, I tell you, we didn't have cell phones. We rode our bikes down to the street down below where, our mom's house was, and we rode our bikes down there and crashed it, a lot of stuff, and fell off our bikes and ran into the little forest because the neighborhood wasn't developed yet. And, that little end of the what they call the cul-de-sac, just going in the woods and playing, fake, pretend, whatever, throwing stones and sticks at each other and mud balls, whatever, we could do. And, like building a little ramp and trying to ramp it up and falling. And, oh, man, probably the reason my back is all messed up today. So, that was it, getting locked in the house was, or, getting sent to your room or whatever, as they say, your punishment. Boy, that was like torture. I think today that's all they want to do. I mean, I think it's the opposite now. Send them out. You got to go play outside now without your cell phone. Now that's grounded. That's being grounded. I don't know. All right. Anyway, Magnum Force. We got a couple of revolvers here, and we got some comments to read. So here we go. We're going to read your comment there. And brought out my Mr. Holster shirt in honor of Mr. Holster, because you know what? Those of you that don't know Mr. Holster was a wonderful, wonderful gentleman that shared a lot of his life and everything on YouTube. Unfortunately, we lost Mr. Holster due to cancer. But you know what? He had a great personality. One of the very few gun-related channels that I watched. Because he was just he had such a broad spectrum of stuff that he would do, and his personality was absolutely they broke the mold after him. But he had a poster in the background of his stuff for Magnum Force, and you could tell that Magnum Force was definitely one of his top ones, and he was a Burt guy, so I love Burt. All right, so to the sunny slopes of long ago. Okay. Jeffrey Richardson says that, sir, is a big beautiful revolver. Yes, we're referring back to our last week's show. If you don't know that, go back and watch it. Again, these comments, we read them during the taping of the show earlier during the week, so that we can get them up for you for a Saturday morning. So if we don't read your comment, you probably commented after the fact that we had done production of the show and everything. So that is just so that we can get this show up for you, every Saturday morning, as that's the goal we try to do. Sometimes your comment is pulled That's not by me. That's just the moderators. So I'm sorry. I have no control over that. I'm not a very computer savvy person, so I don't really know how to get in there and dig through all the wires. I literally read these comments off of a laptop that is just, I just go in, find the video that we did last week, and we're not even signed in under your account or nothing, and just read them as they appear to the general public. So, all right, Joe P. Good morning, JW. Love the Model 29 and Taxi Driver, but also love the fact that when Travis buys the 29, he also buys an Astra Constable at the same time, a gun I've owned for 35 years. It is identified as a Walther by Suitcase Dave in the movie, but you can clearly see a large Astra logo on the front of the barrel. Yes. There is some weird continuity errors with the selection of the guns he buys out of that suitcase. It's funny you brought that up because yeah, it is. It's I think I learned about being an Astra Constable later because it is. They say it's a Walther PPK or something. But there is another error in that. The error is when he gets the snub nose 38. He says, "Oh, get this snub nose 38. It's a short barrel or whatever. It's the same as a service revolver, or as they say over there, it's the same as a service revolver." But when he's at the range and he's blasting, right? The one that he buys, I believe, is a Smith & Wesson Model 36 with a square butt. But when he's at the range blasting and shooting and stuff. Look on the table, because or the little table in front of him. If you look carefully, it's a Colt Detective Special, like a first generation or something with the exposed extractor rod. You can clearly see it. The extractor rod is exposed. Where the Smith 36, the extractor rod runs into like a little drop down piece, and it just kind of runs into that. It's still exposed, but it's not free floating out there, flopping in the wind, as they say. Okay, but yeah, funny that scene is just, I still, without a shadow of doubt, the taxi driver scene that is probably the coolest, buying scene to exist in a movie, and I think a lot of other movies try to emulate that very much with there's that one with Kevin Bacon, Death Sentence, and then there's one even before, and it's Mike Tristano. And Mike Tristano is involved in the movie business and I think he's like an armorer, special effects guy. I actually kind of knew more, I actually kind of got the spotlight on him a little bit more when I saw the old show that Arlie Ermy, the late great Arlie Ermy had on TV, what was it called, Lock and Load. He had Mike Tristano on there. And then I later believe I found out that Mike Tristano was involved in a really cool, old, cheesy, total, just terrible horror movie. It's so bad, it's like, I guess it's good. Psycho Cop 2. I think he did the effects for that. So, I mean, it's just interesting. Okay. Mike here says, some suggestions on how to buy and keep guns you enjoy. I suggest people get into the trades: plumbing, electrician, lineman, and trucking. The first three you can apprentice. They pay while you learn the job. Trucking, they will develop you after you get your CDL license. Depending on the area, you can start at $25 an hour, then work your way up to 35 to 45 plus hour plus benefits. As an experienced truck driver, it is not uncommon to get 35 plus benefits. Of course, inflation and housing costs play into this. If you save your money and mind your pennies, you can buy a new Colt every month if you wanted to. I'm a CDL instructor. It's not uncommon to see students get significant raises, job security, just for their commercial driver's license. Just some thoughts from a revolver lover. Best wishes from Montana. That's from Mike. Yes, actually, very good comment. Really like this comment, Mike. My buddy that's over in Seattle that I've known for years, 20 years I think, he got into the trucking business. That's what he ended up doing. We grew up together on the island as friends, and all through my teen years and stuff like that, and we've just remained really close friends. He moved over to Seattle, got into the trucking business over there, and I believe, yeah, he's making the 30-something, 35 an hour. Of course, where he lives, it's kind of, unfortunately, kind of need to make that kind of money to kind of stay somewhat ahead above water. But yeah, he's able to afford some pretty cool stuff and everything like that. It's good, that is definitely a good point. Buddy of mine, Cody, from... if those of you that go really far back with me on my other channel, that I know it's a little dormant right now, but I will, I'm actually planning on getting some stuff going on there, the Stranger Oddity show. Cody used to do the hangout videos with me, which is, I'm sorry, very poor video production, but there used to be a lot of you that used to hang out there. Cody is a plumber on the island. He's younger than me. I know that. He's about maybe several years younger than I am. He's got a bad shoulder now, but I got a bad back. So, but anyway, he's a plumber. He's actually a plumber in a really big company and moved his way up there. He's doing really well. I myself recognize that, look, staying in the gun business was not going to really get me anywhere unless you start going to. I mean. The gun, I wouldn't say that, because the gun, the gun business treated me well while I was doing it. I got to do things and experience. I didn't make an absolute fortune at it, but what it did for me was it enabled me to purchase stuff cheaper and get my hands on things without having to pay retail, per se. Or having a shop where things walk in and people are trying to sell the stuff, and I mean, sometimes you can scoop some of that stuff up for yourself. There's that aspect of it, but it is why I ended up getting out of the business, was because, one, I was getting tired of it. Two, I needed to make more money, and so I ended up in the jewelry, diamonds, and gold trade. That's what I ended up ultimately doing. So kind of learning that aspect of things. So there are certain things of that. All right. So, but yes, very good comment. It is a good thing. For me too, like, I've sold off a lot of things because mainly I didn't want to accumulate too much. And I got to the point where I wanted to kind of stick with stuff that I enjoyed shooting, or still shot or took to the range and enjoyed it and ran it and had fun with it. Was less interested in things that I didn't do that with, or like finding the brass for it or whatever, or trying to, like, oh man, there's the ammo or whatever was just like ridiculously expensive, or trying to find the brass was really, and usually referring to an auto loader or something where it's ejecting the brass, like a 380 or 30 carbine or something like that, and you're trying to find the brass because it's so, you don't come across it as much. Got kind of tired of that. All right, so Crazy Scotsman, Lethal Weapon, and Die Hard. Yes, sir. I still have my M9A3. But years ago, I gave a good friend my original 92, as he needed a better carry option. That the SDVE he had was super inaccurate and unreliable. Okay, I think that's a Smith & Wesson, if I'm not mistaken. I got to love the Model 29, my brother. That I will never trade any of mine in. They have too much meaning to me. Yeah. For me, the big end frame, I've had a lot of different end frame Smiths over time, and that we're talking about Smith, the Smith talk here. The end frame, the Model 29 is built on. I've had a lot of other different ones, and I've actually honestly ended up selling them off because the Model 29 is just that's my kind of, I love that size. I love that size. I love the round, the 44 Magnum. It's so versatile. You want to shoot something hot, throw that Magnum in there. You want to shoot something moderate, enjoy it at the range. You want to go to the range and blast off a couple hundred rounds, 44 Special. Enjoyable to shoot. You can load them up a little bit hotter if you want to. I do a lot of hand loading. That's mainly what I always, for all my stuff. I don't buy factory. My 44 Specials are mostly just loaded up the same powder charge as my 45 ACP. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, and if you want it a little bit hotter, you throw it in there, load it up a little bit hotter, and enjoy it. It's good fun. One of the most versatile, Magnums you can get aside from the 357 Magnum. That's what I love about it, and pretty much common. I mean, you can go in and get it. 44 Special is a little bit more tricky depending on where you're at to find it. That's why I load it. And the beauty of the loading a revolver cartridge like that is you don't have to go chase your brass. It's right there in the cylinder. Dump it out in the little can and you're good to go. Save it for next time. And some of that brass, I mean, heck, I've got brass that I've been probably loading and shooting for 10 years. So, all right, that's cool stuff. Absolutely love it. And it kind of goes back to this too. Like I was thinking about this, and somebody would ask me like, "Hey, what's a good EDC gun or whatever? Or what's this? What do you think of this latest thing that came out?" I'm the last person that you want to ask that to, really. I couldn't be any more like not interested in that. That's not my interest in it. I like old stuff. I like and I don't knock the newer, like this is the new Python. I love it. I actually love it more than I like the old vintage one. Because you can actually play with this one and take it out and shoot it, and it's stronger and made to do that, and it holds up better. But that just, my area of interest is like, why do I want a Model 29? Why do I like that? Well, Dirty Harry. And then the benefit of it, later on I found out it's actually a really cool revolver. And then, the Dirty Harry-ness just adds that, aspect. So, when somebody says, what do you think of the new, this or that, or I'm like, I don't even know. I've never even owned one, never had any desire to own one. I guess you could say the most modern thing I own is a Glock 17, and even at that, the one that I have is like an old generation. It's like it doesn't even have an accessory rail on it. So, and I mean that thing rarely even goes out. It's really just why do I have something like that? It's really, I mean, it's still related to a lot of films. I for one I love the movie. U.S. Marshals, Tommy Lee Jones. I mean, geez, that's such a cool, but the thing is, the gun's not the greatest, prettiest thing ever, by comparison. But it's got some cool factors in there. It does have it does have its place in the media and, the entertainment and all that. But really, it's a great one to just test stuff, or, you got a bunch of 9mm ammo. You're like, oh, gee, I don't know what this is, what that is. I'm not going to shoot that out of my 1968 high power. I'm going to throw it in this Glock 17. So, and, and it's, and it's a good gun. Keep on your nightstand, So, all right, because, you're a dime a dozen, get a new one when it's, gone for evidence. All right. Sean. Morning, JW. I haven't owned a Colt revolver yet, but I do have some vintage Smiths. Was curious if the Smiths bluing is as sexy as the Colt revolver bluing. Maybe it helps to justify the higher cost of a Colt, and side-by-side comparison would be cool. Great show as always. All right, well, we got a couple of them out here now. This one here, this Model 29 is a -2. 6.5. This is a vintage. I haven't had this out for a long time. It stays in the safe, but I should take it out and fire it. And then we got the new 2024 blued Python, or the 2020 blued Python. I guess it's This is the same 2020 Python, just in blue. The finish wise, honestly, you're getting to the point where you're splitting hairs. But I will have to say, I think, actually now that I'm looking at it myself, because I haven't pulled this one out for a while, the bluing on this does have a slight, at least, you know, to me, it has a slight better bluing almost. Just an ever so slight better bluing than the Python, the new Python. But you're really splitting hairs. They're really identical. And that's only because I honestly think, and the bluing on this is just gorgeous. I can't speak enough of that. And for them to basically pop this out with only, it's about $100 more than the stainless one is amazing. But the old vintage one, the only reason I think the bluing has just that, it just has a slightly different hue to it. I think that's what the more of what I should be getting at here. It's not that I would say it's better. It just looks a little bit different. And the reason I think that, or I think that is the reason for that, is because the chemicals. I think the chemicals used to do this was different and probably more toxic to the user or the people, you know, working with it than, say, for this. So I think that's what it is. You know, you hear that kind of stuff with different finishes over the years. As, you know, it's gone through the years, you know, of 60 plus 70 years over the time, you know, they found out, hey, you know, the bluing or process, or the process that we were doing to do this is really terrible, you know, and it's like, oh, you know, actually I heard, I once heard that during the 30s or whatever, when they were building, when Colt was doing 1911s and stuff like that, to degrease those guns, they were dipping them in boiling gasoline. Think about that. But I, you know, I also hear that they literally washed and cleaned guns with petrol and stuff, you know, so times, you know, difference. But yeah, to me, if you're really that hard up on trying to, you know, and I'm not talking about your comment here, and I'm talking about the real, like, this thing has spawned some extreme nitpicking out there. I mean, literally, just like, the only thing they could do about complaining about it was to find anything that was different. Literally, the space, because the old one had a gap between the frame and the trigger right there. There was a gap. You're complaining about that it's not there anymore? I mean, honestly, I didn't even know. Somebody even complained, oh, they never put the orange insert in the front sight. Really? Because I saw older vintage Pythons with some with it and some without it. I don't know. I mean, and I'm actually glad that they changed that to where all you have to do is unscrew that and take the sight out and replace it if you wanted to. Gosh, isn't that so much easier than the two pins that are right there? And then they recess the barrel so that it honestly looks better. So I don't know. But keep in mind, a lot of those complaints are because the fact that now you and I can go out and buy something like this and not break the bank. I'm not saying that $1,500 is cheap, but it's certainly not $4,000 like it used to be. And hey, on a positive note, at least in my neck of the woods, if the vintage route is what you want to go to, guess what? You can go out and buy one for $2,000. Because since these have come out on separate occasions, our local shop down in town, that's really a good, well-stocked shop, has had on two separate occasions 2 different vintage Pythons, and one was priced at one time at $18.99, and the other one I think was right around I think it was $2,000. I think it was like $19.99 or something like that, on separate occasions, not together. These were, you know, some time frames apart, and that was post, you know, after all these came out. So there you have it. So if the vintage one is what you want, hey, more great news. They're cheaper now. I used to have a couple. I think I had about 3 of them. One I never actually used on YouTube. The two I shot on, or used on YouTube, was the 78 vintage 6-inch, and then I had the 4-inch that I shot. By the way, the 4-inch was out of time. It ended up going out of time on me, and I took it to a gunsmith. He says, "Whoa!" He goes, I don't even touch those." And he was an older gunsmith too. He said it's just too complicated. I had a 6-inch that I shot off camera. I didn't do, wasn't doing anything with it on camera. I was shooting it. I believe it wasn't as badly out of time as the 4, but it was getting there. That was the crazy thing, was you could take it. I remember you could take it, cock it, and then turn the cylinder, it would lock up. That was, to me, was kind of scary. So that's why I kind of was refraining from shooting it. So and but now that I got this, it's really cool because I got to enjoy the Python for what it was intended to do, and shoot and shoot and shoot. I'm sure if you got a vintage one brand new in the box, unfired, and you go out and shoot it, you could enjoy it for an extended period. But I think eventually, it might go out of time. I don't, that's just my experience. Was I had, 2 that I shot, both, pretty much were out of. One was definitely out of time. The other one was getting there. So I kind of refrained from shooting them and just kind of held on to them. But now, since then, moved a lot of them on. But I got this one now and back in the stable. I'm happy with it. But yeah. Even when it comes down to the new Model 29, the Dash 10, I still want one. I still actually want to grab one of those as a shooter, and just basically have it and enjoy it. Yeah, it's going to have the the key lock and everything on it, but even though, no, don't get me wrong, I think it's an eyesore. Yeah, I don't really care for it, but it's still, it's not a deal breaker for me. It just is not. It's not gonna stop me from getting it. It really isn't. If you really wanted to, you can actually go and find. The company still exists. There's a button that they sell, and you can actually have all that key lock stuff removed, replace it with the little button, and it looks pretty flush on the other side of the frame, and then poof, it's gone. There you go. And the other thing, it's kind of funny. I'm glad I just remembered this to bring this out. Everybody, and I agree. I wish that Colt wouldn't have done this. This is kind of stupid. They should have done it the traditional way, or at least put the serial number under the grips, on the bottom of the tang of the frame or something like that, or inside here where it's traditionally done on revolvers. But again, is it a deal breaker? Hell no. No. But it's so funny that mostly people complain about this Q whatever code thing. I don't know, it's some new fancy thing. I hardly notice it myself. But then this is the funny part. Nobody seems to care that Smith & Wesson, this is a vintage 1971 or 70 Dash 2 here. Nobody seems to care that they put this big billboard thing right here that says "Made in USA, Marcus Restradas, Smith & Wesson, Springfield, Massachusetts." Nobody sees, but that they don't care about that because it says something cool. I don't know. So again, it really comes down to, it's like, are we nitpicking? Are we really splitting hairs here? I mean, really, what are we doing? I don't let a lot of that kind of stuff get to me, because it's just like, I'm just glad that this is here, and we can get something like this, go out, enjoy it, shoot it, and do all that kind of stuff with it. So that that's what I'm happy about. All right, last couple of comments here. Ammo Alchemist, man, I just got that 29. Awesome, that's cool. Especially you can get out there. Mine, the one that I had that I brought out, the 8 3/8. It's like built in 1985, 86 or something like that. So this one is the vintage one, the 1970s. All right, Slim Fire, JW. Hope you had have a great weekend. And the Smith & Wesson 29 looks nice too. I have the same 29, but the one I have was made in 86. Oh, well, yeah, that's what that's the one I got. It doesn't have the pin barrel or recessed cylinders, no box. I still have the original box for mine. the cardboard box that came with the 8-inch one. I know it's nice to have the original box. It helps in the sale. Any thoughts on the new King Cobra 22 LR? Thanks for reading our comments. Thanks, Slim. This one here, this one is a pin and recessed, yeah, because this is the vintage 70s, so it does have the pin barrel and the countersunk cylinders. That's a really cool. You know, this is the ultimate dirty hairy gun, because that's the 6.5-2. You know, that's the real deal right there. And then, you know, of course, the Magnum Python. Woo. But my thoughts on the King Cobra 22. Because I'm not going to lie, I'm a huge fan of the new Colt revolvers. Big fan of them. I think they're extremely well made. And I know, you know, Colt is kind of, you know, special to me. I like that company. I like Smith too. I like the Smith revolvers. I like Colt's, you know, old school revolvers. I like what they're doing now. I honestly, I was never really much of a fan of their stuff from their old days. I always felt that a lot of their, all the stuff, the official police, all those, I always felt those were kind of, they were cool. They were just not that, I don't know. I was just, they didn't do much for me. Had a few Pythons in the past. They were okay. You know, again, you know, with that, loved them, shot them, but, you know, just seemed like, you know, I didn't really want to run them too hard or anything like that. Not that you should be trying to do that with a revolver. If you're going to the range with a revolver with 1,000 rounds and trying to blow that, I don't know what you're doing. But hey, you know, that's what you want to do. You know, do it. I mean, people do it, but I think they make purpose revolvers for that. You know, but at least that's not what I do. I just recreation. I'm not trying to compete or anything like that. Competition guys, yeah, I could see that. You know, definitely. You know, hone your craft. But I'm a big fan of their new stuff. I think it's the best made revolvers that they've done. That's just, you know, my feeling. I think, you know, I think this Python is, you know, that's just my opinion, you know, whatever. When you get them, the other thing too is when you look at these in photos, you're looking at them in the photographs, the photos of these things don't do them justice at all. And like I said, when I did my 2 videos on this, even some of the shops, when they just took them and put them in the showcase, they, you know what, keep in mind, this thing arrives in a grease bag. So, and they did that to protect the finish. When they, you know, a lot of these shops took the grease bag off and put it in the case. Well, mud catting underneath all that grease smeared all over it is this absolutely gorgeous polished blue finish. That is cool, really awesome looking. So there's that aspect of that, you know, to think, you know, okay, you know, that, so don't, you know, you gotta, when you actually get it home, get it in your hands, clean it up, you know, ballast it like I did, and wipe it down. Oh, it's gorgeous. Start messing with it, playing with it, shooting it at the range. You will find that what I found is, man, it is a phenomenal revolver. It's great. I had no issues with my sight, my rear sight. I don't know. People were saying that it's come loose on them or whatever. Mine has not. Mine has not done anything like that. All the screws are tightened down, and I've not had an issue. So I have no designs or desires to change it out. In fact, I like the original sight because it's very close to what the original one looked like. So I don't want to change that because then it'll, you know, affect the lines of the look of the thing. And I will say this. Look, when I heard Colt was doing this, and I said, you know what? If they deviated from this, if they made this gun different in any way that it would deviate it from looking like the ones that we love from yesteryear, I'm going to have zero interest in it. But they didn't. They did it well. I was very, you know, I was, you know, even back when I had mine that I had, and I've talked about it in the years ago on my channel, I said, you know what, they're never going to be able to do this thing again. I was definitely on board with that. That surprised me. That really surprised me, you know. But these two, for me, with the movie Magnum Force, I mean, it had to be. I had to have them. I always, you know, seem to have the Python and Model 29 over the years. But back to what you're saying about the King Cobra and 22 LR. I think it's really a slick gun. I really, my only thing about it is, see, and it's not a deal breaker yet for me, but I'm a traditionalist. If that thing held 6 rounds, I'd be all over it. I'm not wild about the ones that hold like, you know, 10, 9 rounds or whatever going around in a circle. I get it, it's a 22, but still there's just this thing about me that it's like, 6. I want the 6. You know? You know, the little snubbies like the Chief Special and stuff, they have their 5 and all that. Yeah, that's, you know, but I just wish it was more traditional. I, you know, would be more interested in buying one of the older ones from the past that held the 6, or the, you know, I used to have a official police or whatever that held 6 22 LR. And a lot of that too is when I was first really shooting at the range, I shot, my first revolvers I shot were Smith and a Colt that were 22 and they held 6. But I guess I'm just a traditionalist, I guess too much of a traditionalist in that aspect. But it's not an entire deal breaker for me. But I am a big fan of their revolvers that they're doing now. Their Cobra, their snake guns, basically what seems to be the trend that they're sticking to. I think they're phenomenal. So I would say, yeah, that King Cobra is probably an excellent firearm. That thing is probably just great. I also do believe that Deer Hollow Grips makes wood grips for that Cobra. I don't know if how, you know, the new one versus the old one. I don't know. I didn't look at the details on that. But if I had one of those, I think, because I think it comes with the rubber grips, the black rubber grips. I'd have to change it to wood grips if I had it. That's just me. I just love that wood and steel look. So, but yeah, I think that King Cobra and 22 LR would be just absolutely cool. You know, to have something like that. The thing too to keep in mind when you get vintage 22 LR revolvers, you know, when you buy an old used one or something like that, a vintage one, you got to kind of watch because they light strike. They do. You don't know. You don't know if somebody sat there dry firing it too much or what. But they can light strike, or the inside of the rim or the chamber or whatever, or wherever the rim sits and stuff like that could be dirty. You never know. They do have a tendency to do that. I know it's kind of that. It kind of goes against that thought process of a revolver. Like revolver, that'll shoot anything, you know. But it's been my experience with 2 different ones that I bought used that I've had over time that. Yeah, they won't always fire, and I'm talking double action, bang, 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 click, bang, bang, click, click, bang. You know, like, whoa, what was that all about? I have never been able to pinpoint why that was going on, but I've tried all different types of, you know, like I say, cleaning, or maybe the mainspring. I don't know. Maybe it's been dry fired too much. Maybe the inner chamber's been pecked out too much. I don't know. I found that sometimes it's ammo dependent. Sometimes, you know, once again, you know, it's like different ammo manufacturers have a harder rim. Who knows? But it's been my experience. I wouldn't have any of that worry if I bought that new King Cobra in 22. That at least that's for me. So that's just my experience out there. Somebody else may have had a totally different experience with it, but that's just been my experience with that. So that was always you know, something for me that I was like, I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, in a nutshell, you know, this what, you know, mainly we're talking about here and going through, and that, you know, and keep that in mind. Like I said, when you read, and that, it's with anything with, you know, be it the new Pythons or whatever, you know, there's so much, you know, negative words or negative, I guess you say, bad news travels faster, right? And come up with your own conclusions. come up with what you think in the end, what you feel about it, because you know, I do believe, my true opinion on this, the reason why there's so many sour people out there trying to trash these things is because they're upset that, you know, the Python was always this, you know, felt like this high up on the pedestal, you know, gun that was like, yeah, the only way you get one is it's $4,000. People, I bought mine back in the day for $800, and now look, it's worth quadruple, but now, you know, not so much, maybe, you know, perhaps that's it, you know. So anyway, all right, I'll see you next time. Enjoy your weekend.